You may have heard of this saying that education is not the filling of a vessel, it's the lighting of a fire. Children, they have this fire within them. It's a natural energy and drive to learn and explore and do things, right? And we have many words for it. You might call it passion, interests. But the traditional system looks at kids as empty vessels to be filled with this standard generic knowledge, and that actually kills the fire within each child, right? That's working against their natural drive and it's suppressing their natural drive. But what if instead of filling vessels, we focused on lighting fires?
Hi, my name is Daksh. I'm 6.5 years old. I'm making my own phone.
These are the planes which I have designed.
I make braille books and braille puzzles for blind children.
I want to be a hairstylist and I have mastered around 50 hairstyles over the past 9 months.
We are in game development for the past year. We made 4 games and this is one of them.
And I have mastered over 50 recipes.
And I want to become a designer, and these are a few outfits I've made.
I've made a book called The Golden Kingdom that has been published on Amazon Kindle.
And I like to design electronic things, so I've made intelligent street lighting which is controlled by touch plate.
I've designed a robotic car.
When I came to the school, then I got an idea of making a plane that can fly.
At Next, we believe that education should be about unleashing this fire, about exploring the passions and interests of each child. The program at Next has 2 pieces. One is the academic piece and the other is the big picture piece. The purpose of the academic piece is to make sure that all the age appropriate goals are met. So for math, in grade 1, the goal might be to be able to count up until 1,000 starting from any random number. A lot of our academic goals obviously come from the IB, right? But in many areas, we've even gone much further. For instance, a lot of our maths goals come from Singapore because they have really high standards for mathematics. And a lot of our writing goals come from the US, where they have the Common Core state standards, which are just incredibly rigorous. The way we do academics at Next is different in 2 very big ways, right? One is that it's completely personalized. So the same academic goal can be met by different children at different times, right? And at different speeds. And the second part is that we try to do academics in a very student-driven way. A lot of the academics at Next are broken down into pieces that the kids can largely do by themselves. But at Next, we really believe in going far beyond academics. Academics is really a small part of all there is out in the world. And there's so much to learn in real life and in the real world that is beyond academics. So that's where the big picture piece comes in.
Big picture is basically gives us opportunity to explore our passions and connects us to the real world. And means suppose if I am taking web development, then I can go for internship and go deeper into web development and what I want to do in that.
What I know about big picture is that it has room for passions and interests.
I really like it as it makes us learn what's important in life.
Big picture really broadens the definition of learning. While the traditional system is focused on acing exams and being successful in an academic sense, big picture is focused on what does it take to be successful in the real world. And in a nutshell, it's a process of discovering your interests and passions on the one hand and connecting it to work that happens in the real world on the other hand. But the whole idea is, how do you take your interests and passions and do something productive and meaningful in the real world? So how does this big picture piece work, right? It actually works differently for kids of different ages. In primary school, we have this concept of learning agreement time, right? Or the kids call it LAT. So this is actually a specific time of the day where the kids get to work on their passion projects. The key requirement is you have to produce something that is of real world value. So if a kid is interested in writing, we say that's great, but now what are you going to write? Is it going to be a novel? Is it going to be a news article, right? It has to be a real world product. And it's only been a year, but these kids, they've done some phenomenal work.
So my project was cleanliness drive. I made a cleanliness drive to clean the city. I came up with the idea because I thought that India was very dirty, so I felt like cleaning it. So I thought that I set my goals by writing which date I have to clean and what I have to do. In Q2, my project was to make a hologram. My friend and I made it. So when Sharat sir showed me a video of a hologram, I felt it was too interesting. I felt, how did this 3D shape come up? So what we had to do was we had to cut a transparent sheet and make the shape of a hologram and stick it. My Q3 project was plastic gobbler. So first I came up with the idea that turtles die in the sea because we throw plastic and they eat it. So then I thought I can make a machine that will suck all the plastic in the sea. So it will work on solar power because there's no electricity available in water. So it will have 4 tubes that will suck the plastic and it will go in a silicone bag under the machine. I like plants. Whenever I see them dead, I feel like, oh, I forgot to water my plants. Now what should I do? I feel very sad. So I made a machine that automatically will water the plants. Sharat sir helped me while making my model on Tinkercad. So Tinkercad is a app where we can print anything on it and it will print it on the 3D printer.
I chose Lego Mindstorm. So in the Lego project, we had to create a robot and we had to program it. I had to make him move forward and make him not touch obstacles. So in Q2, I also had another designing LAT, like a game making LAT, and I had a cooking LAT. But in the game making LAT, this time I had to use a real coding language, C#. So this time I made my game with C#, but in the starting I didn't know how to use the language and I didn't know. So Sharat sir told me, Sharat sir was my mentor for all of this. So he told me to watch videos and for this quarter make a game by watching videos, and I did that. And after that everything became super easy for me because I understood everything. After I learned that, then I moved on to Unity, and for everything of Unity I got inspired by a game called Prodigy. In my Q3 I designed a game and I created a cookbook. In the cookbook, we made recipes. We made lots of recipes and then we put how we made the recipes in there, in the book. So in Q4 I again had 2 projects. I was continuing the coding thing, but this time I was doing Xcode, which is the Apple coding language, Swift. So first, for learning it, I used Swift Playgrounds, which was an app powered by Apple. My real goal was to complete all of the codes. They are levels, level 1, level 2, level 3.
My first unit, Autumn, I took up live portrait and how to draw, how to shade, light and shadow, and I really enjoyed it, and because I found my true passion, which is art. In the second quarter, I made a game inspired by my friends as they made a game in the first unit. I found it interesting and I used the program Construct 2. I made about 5-6 levels and it was very fun. I learned how to code and animate in a simple way, and I realized that the more simple it is, the more better it looks. In my third quarter also, I was first originally going to make a novel, write a novel, But then Nikhil suggested me to make a quiz book. In the quiz book, basically each girl has a different personality. There are 3 different types: a girly girl, an individual, and a tomboy. So I basically wrote it down and I made pages in it so you can fill out. You could find what kind of a girl you are, these fun little quizzes. It was probably the most fun and exciting quarter I've had, which is the current quarter. I chose Greek mythology and making a cookbook. So in Greek mythology, I learned a lot. I learned about how the gods originated, and I realized that the gods are only the only creatures in Greek mythology. They are titans, and I made a blog, a website through Wix, and I've posted 2 articles currently. I also took cooking, and my mom suggested that I should make a cookbook with treats, but they're twisted. So basically the name was Twisted Treats. I came up with 4 recipes. So I made stuff like pita bread, chocolate pretzels, and I actually sold the chocolate pretzels in the school food truck, and it was very fun. Surprisingly, I was sold out in 10 minutes.
So the learning that comes from expressing your own passions and interests is so incredibly powerful. The volume and the amount of stuff that these kids have learned is just phenomenal. So this same stuff, if we actually decided to teach it to them, it would take years. Just ask any engineering student. So this is really the power of self-driven learning. This is the power of intrinsic motivation, right? And if you think about it, 3-year-old kids who come to our school, they can already speak 3 languages. Learning a language is one of the hardest things to do, but they do it. And did you have to teach them at home? Did you sit them down in a class? No, they learned. They just learned, right? And that's because it is a natural process, right? And harnessing this natural process is what leads to learning, which can be exponentially more. This is a very different kind of learning, right? And we all know that there is a very different kind of learning that counts in the real world. And that's what Big Picture is focused on, right? It's learning by doing. When you do something, the learning that comes out of it is incredibly profound, right? So I've actually been working in architecture and design for 4 or 5 years, right? And having made a few buildings myself, my whole perspective has changed. The way I look at buildings has completely changed. The moment I walk into a restaurant, what's going through my head is, what's the lighting like? What's the flooring like? What materials have they used for the tables and what fabrics have they used? So just having that experience of having done something, it totally changes you. And you're constantly learning, you're constantly observing. So that's what we want to bring to the kids at Next, right? And I'm sure that the way Avika looks at electronics, or the way Jetta looks at games or music has completely changed now because of the experience that they've had.
So in early years, we use a lot of Montessori materials in these environments. So for academics, for us to be able to achieve the learning outcomes, these materials help us because they are available in the environment. It makes the kids more self-directed. So the children get an opportunity to choose what they want to work with, when they want to work with it, and it's all developmentally appropriate. So it's also has a very natural progression. So they could finish one, they could move to the next, then they could move to the next one. And then when we move towards primary, what we do is the materials become more relaxed. We have a lot of these worksheets or provocations or prompts because they are more independent. Kids can read and write and comprehend. So if we are doing a particular topic, for example, I'm introducing them to plants, I don't have to actually stand there and talk about plants to them. So we have these resources kept there. We have different plants in the advisory, or probably they could just go to the garden to explore that. We have few videos kept there for them to watch, some worksheets for them to solve. So they learn from peers, they learn using devices, or they learn from the advisor. They can decide how they want to learn. So it's more of like it's on an autonomous mode. They're so used to being told at all the times that this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, which we definitely don't want to be doing. Like you could figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it and when you want to do it. So we are very different in terms of believe in so much less of teaching and more of learning. The less we teach, more kids learn. That's how we believe, and it's the truth. We've seen that. So it's always innovating and trying new things.
In middle school, we actually treat these kids like adults. So they're managing their own time, their own schedule, their own priorities for the large part, right? And of course, for all of that to happen, we give them a lot of autonomy. But this autonomy is oftentimes misunderstood. People think it's freedom for freedom's sake, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth. We give them autonomy so they have room to express their passions and interests. Also, with autonomy come all these higher order skills like planning, goal setting, time management, prioritization, right? And these are things that are so incredibly important in the real world and in real life. But you're going to learn zero about that if you have zero autonomy, right? And if you're being told what to do every minute of your life. And of course, all of their work is being tracked and measured in one of the most critical pieces of the Big Picture program, which is the learning plan. So each student has a personalized learning plan, which has all of their academic and big picture work.
Previously at my school, we used to actually have time slotted for different subjects. We had to go sit in a lecture and then teachers used to explain things. And personally for me, it did not help. But now over here, we have less of classes but more of self-learning. So we've got deadlines to watch videos, give some quizzes, which would actually help me on my own. Like I could go watch that videos again and I could understand it.
So in my previous school, there was no autonomous learning. It was full classroom-based learning. Like the teacher used to teach on the blackboard, and then you had to copy it down in your notebooks and then learn it. And also in my old school, it was a lot of times for tests there were really big answers, so you had to, even if you thought you'd try to understand it, you have to ratify it. But in next, we focus more on understanding rather than writing word-to-word answers.
For our maths, English and science, we have fixed classes which are there in the morning. We are giving the worksheets and we have to solve them, and if we have any doubts, we can go to other teachers for help.
The minimum percentage you need to get in a test to pass is 75%. So if you get that much, then you go to the next level. Otherwise, you have to give a retest.
Basically, the self-learning has actually helped me a lot to understand things better, and I actually get to plan my own day, like how I want to do things. It is not basically right now I have to only do maths. I can actually do my passion project right now and I can do maths afterwards, but then I have to do it.
I had taken up an edX course which was on neuroanatomy. It's from the Michigan University, which is like a really known school for its medical. And like all of that I'm being able to do on like in 6th grade. It explained in detail about the gross anatomy and even the inside part, the functions of it, why it is important to us, its connections to the whole body. It explained in really detail about the nerves, the spinal cord and the brain.
I'm really interested in fashion designing. For my first quarter, I actually created my own online catalog, and I created one, like my first outfit, which is basically made out of like a normal lining material, just to get a hand on how the designs work, how does the fall work. For my second quarter, I actually got inspired with these 2-3 jackets that were my inspiration, and I created 2 jackets. One was an off-shoulder one and one was a patch jacket. I basically made 5 outfits, 1 skirt, to actually learn like how the fall is of a skirt, what material has to be used. I actually learned tie-dye. I actually made a top out of tie-dye and tried to stitch it and patterned after. Then I actually made a set of a skirt and a top, but with a new cut. So for my 4th quarter, I had a wedding coming up, so I planned to design my own gown for it, for the reception. And then I'm actually traveling outside my vacations, so I had to design
6 cover-ups for beachwear. For now, I aim to design one outfit in 2 weeks, and I'm actually working on it right now. So I actually interned at my aunt's boutique, which is Sonal Raval. The boutique's name is Sonal Raval. And I actually got to know a lot of aspects of designing. I even worked on 2 projects over there. We actually helped them design 2-3 pieces, and that is when I actually got to know more aspects.
Currently, the passions which I have are I'm doing cooking, then I'm interested in web development, and I'm also taking care of dogs who are there in school who we have adopted. In the first quarter I took only 2 projects which were of web development and Jumpy's care, means the dog. So that I had many deliverables in that. I talked to a trainer. I had also decided Jumpy's food which I had to give and on what times. And in web development, my dad wanted to build a site from a long time, and he was telling he couldn't find a web developer who could make his site. So then I decided that my school is allowing big picture learning, allows passion projects. So then I decided that I can also make a website. So for that I had to first make the home page. Then in 2 weeks I made the home page. Then I moved on to About Us page and Contact Us page. Then I switched to WordPress in the second quarter. And by the end of the quarter, I had made my first draft of my dad's website. When I had gone to intern at Marathon, I first learned about Jupyter and everything. Then over there, my mentors, Keith and Deepak, both of them helped me a lot. And also for making my dad's website, they both were helping me. Then in dog care, I started to build the kennel, got in touch with the carpenter and started building the kennel, and it was quite ready. I had to just do the painting and installation of it, which I continued in the third quarter. So in the fourth quarter, I did a new passion project, which was cooking. I cooked risotto, burrito, enchiladas, and also I made designer cakes. I like baking, and currently I am making, I'm 3D printing a model from which I'll make a mold, and I'm going to bake a cake from that. So first part of the model is ready. I'm going to assemble 3 more parts, put silicone on that, and then I'll have a silicone mold in which I'm going to make my cake.
I'm interested in neuroscience, lyric writing and novel writing. I always wanted to do something related to the medical professions, and I'm very fascinated with anything that relates the brain and how it's connected to the body and how it helps the body function. In my first quarter, I had researched upon the head transplant, and I had written a research report on it. So I learnt about the various connections of the brain and spinal cord, like how nerve tissues are connected and they cannot be restored. I found out that they had been doing this experiment on like about 100 to 200 mice, and like literally none of them survived, but still they have the hope to do it, and I have been researching about it for quite some time, like whenever I get time. So in the second quarter, I decided to make a 3D model of the brain through the 3D printer to like show the gross anatomy of the brain. I learned to 3D print for the first time, and it was really interesting. So basically I met 3 neurosurgeons, and the second one I actually met in Jupyter Hospital. He would like want to show me some clips of short brain surgeries and some brain slices. This was the time when I took up lyric writing. So I just started writing lyrics, and I also decided on taking up novel writing by the end of the quarter. In the fourth quarter, I continued my edX course, and I also started like trying to read a book on neuroanatomy, and I've continued writing my lyrics and novel.
So when it comes to big picture, the learning is really at 3 different levels. The first level is that you are actually getting better at a particular field. of your interest. So you're actually doing great work, building up your portfolio, building up your resume, and then the learning that's coming from actually doing these things is, as we already discussed, transformational. The second level is really learning about what is it that you enjoy doing. You know, what is it that you don't enjoy doing? What really energizes you, right? And that is such valuable learning, because most of us, we have made career decisions not really knowing what we're getting into. And there's enough examples of people out there in the world who hate what they're doing, right? But if you ask the most successful people, they'll tell you that they're getting paid doing what they love. So that's what we want our kids to be learning. And the third level of learning is about all these higher order skills like planning, goal setting, time management, 21st century skills like creativity, communication, collaboration, right? And these are things that you will learn only if you're doing 21st century work and not doing this industrial age work of just doing whatever the teacher tells you. So there's really many layers to the learning that comes from big picture.
This knowledge and the way we have been taught over here is very important, because book knowledge is not everything as per me. You actually need to know things that are actually there in the real world.
Now I can go for internships, interact with people who have already are in the profession of web development or cooking, whereas in that school I couldn't do much of that, and we just had kind of a classroom learning and theories and lectures.
In the old school, like, we didn't get a choice on what we wanted to do, like which project we wanted to work on, but on this school we get a choice.
In my previous schools, I basically knew nothing about my teacher. She would just come in, all I know was her name. She'd come in, she'd tell us what to do, and then she'd leave. But while over here, Nikhil sir would actually teach it. He will put his own past experiences.
In our previous school, we couldn't much talk to a teacher. I mean, just if we have any doubts, we would just, when the class is there, we solve. But over here, we can sit with the advisor at any time of the day and discuss it and sort it out.
If someone actually asked me that should I join or not, I would be definitely yes, because this is like the best opportunity you would get at this age to actually know what you want to become, to pursue things and to understand the real world.
Now I like to come to this school because there is a different learning setup and I can explore my passions.
While I'm learning, I'm also pursuing my passion project, which is art and cooking and music and a lot more. So I have a lot of fun in this, and this school is something probably each kid should experience.
When I actually heard about the school and the concept it followed, I was really happy that there's some kind of school in this world who actually believed in that kind of learning. The opportunities I've got at next school has actually helped me a lot from where I was and what I'm right now. And I'm sure it's going to help me with what I want to become ahead.